The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast, connecting Virginians to their government. We're very pleased to have with us two members from Prince William County, Delegate Luke Torian. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
And Freshman Senator Scott Surovell. How are you, sir?
Great to be on again.
Last time you were here, you were a delegate. How is it being a state senator now?
It's a little different. You know, the districts are much bigger. Before I only represented Fairfax County. Now the district I've just picked up has a lot of Prince William County, about 110,000 people in Prince William County and about 10,000 people in Stafford County. So 2 new counties, 3 new towns, the towns of Occoquan, Dumfries, and Quantico. And I got a whole new set of committees. I'm on the Local Government Committee, Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee, and the General Laws and Technology Committee. And so it's that, and being in a smaller body with only 40 members, a whole new set of members. It's a very different experience, but it's in some ways the same, in some ways different, but it's a lot of fun. It's been an honor.
So how different is your district besides the increase in population?
It's basically the entire Route 1 corridor from right around the Wilson Bridge all the way down to Stafford. And so a lot of Route 1's pretty much the same in terms of demographics, income, population, that kind of thing. What's different is the commuting patterns in Prince William. People in Prince William County commute completely different ways. I got basically everybody south of the Occoquan uses I-95, I-395 to get to work. My old district, people tended to go up through Alexandria that way. I got more people that work out in Tyson's Corner now. So the types of jobs and the commuting patterns are totally different. But in terms of the issues and the needs, aside from transportation, it's somewhat the same. Prince William County, their school systems have different issues. Stafford County schools have different issues than Fairfax. So, it's representing different jurisdictions presents some challenges because sometimes they have needs that are cross purposes to each other and things. So
Sure. Delegate Torian, have your committee assignments changed, or are they basically the same?
Yes and no. I've had one change. I've come off of county, cities, and towns and have joined privileges and elections, along with appropriations, general laws, agriculture, Chesapeake, and natural resources.
That's a big change.
Yes, it is. Major adjustments, but we'll do well with it.
Talk to us a little bit about Go Virginia. I know that's something that you're involved in.
Go Virginia is an initiative that is supported by both the Republicans and the Democrats in the House. Governor McAuliffe is supporting this initiative, and primarily it's economic development that we're trying to expand throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. There are certain regions within the state that challenged economically, and so we believe that this is an initiative that will incentivize economic development and growth and education within certain specific regions that are being challenged economically right now.
So I take it that goes hand in hand with the governor's initiative to create a new Virginia economy?
It does, and our governor is doing quite well with economic development, and so we believe that this will certainly incentivize continual growth within the Commonwealth.
So what kinds of problems do you hear most about from your constituents?
Transportation is a big issue, and I'm sure Senator Surovell joins me in that, understanding that challenge. That transportation is a real big issue for us. That 95 corridor, 395, Route 1, just the commute that we have to deal with in Prince William County is a big issue for us.
So what about rail, like the Blue Line? Is that a continuing concern?
Yep. I've been fighting to get the yellow line extended up in my current district for about the last 6 years, and Luke, Delegate Torian's been working on trying to get the blue line down to Prince William County, and I knocked about 8,000 doors in Prince William County in this last election, and the number one thing people brought up on the doors was their commute. and people down there are thirsty for a shorter commute. They're also thirsty to get the metro down there. They currently have VRE, and that runs right along the river. That's not accessible to everybody or affordable to everyone, but metro would completely change the game. And so I've introduced a study resolution. Delegate Torian has also introduced it as well in the House. We're trying to get the state to come in and study the extension of the Blue Line down to Potomac Mills, down through Woodbridge, Potomac Mills, potentially down to Quantico, and also study development of bus rapid transit on the Route 1 corridor, which is what we're going to extend from Fairfax County down to Woodbridge. It's probably about a 10, 20-year process, but you have to start the studies and the planning a long time away to be able to lay the groundwork to actually make it happen. And so it would be a huge game changer for Prince William County in terms of jobs, traffic, transportation, shopping, quality of life, housing, all kinds of stuff, if we can make that happen. So people are hungry for it.
So take people off of I-95, giving them some options in terms of getting to and from work and recreation?
Yes, it does. And the challenge that we're faced with is that the territory is expanding. I mean, we are embracing Fredericksburg, Stafford. Those commuters are coming north. They're parking in Prince William County and commuting on up into Tysons and D.C., and we need to do something immediately. May not be able to get rail as soon as we would like, but bus rapid transit would help us tremendously. Population continue to grow. Stafford and Fredericksburg busting at the seams, and it seems as though the commute is year-round now. It's just not summer. It's year-round. Traffic is stagnated throughout the year.
Even on weekends.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right about that. I've experienced that myself. So the new high occupancy toll lanes that start there in Stafford County, have they even kept up with the increased traffic, in your opinion?
I don't know. I think the hot lanes, Transurban has shown me graphs that suggest that it improved travel times within Prince William County. I think what really happened, though, is it basically moved the bottleneck. It moved the traffic blob further south down to Garrisonville.
Exactly.
So in Prince William County,
Yeah.
people got a better commute, but now everybody in Stafford's furious.
Yeah.
And so I know they're working on extending the hot lanes another 2 miles to provide some relief down there. But when I was on the doors, I kind of got mixed reviews on the hot lanes. I met some people who felt a little violated that the state had taken away their ability to use the HOV lanes on the weekends, because you used to be able to use them on the weekends or outside of rush hour for free, and now you can't. And so one of the bills I put in asked the state to study whether or not they could do a differential toll for people who live in the state, so we could recognize the investment by Virginia taxpayers made in the road before it got widened. Some states do that. So for example, say you spend $100 a month. If you're an in-state resident, the state gives you back $10 or something. So people out of state pay a little more than people in-state to recognize that investment. So it's helped some. I mean, if you need to get somewhere, you can get there. But I mean, I talked to somebody who went from Dumfries. A Dumfries councilman told me he went from Dumfries to the Mixing Bowl to Tyson's to Herndon to get somewhere in the morning. It cost him $30. I think a lot of people around the state don't realize how expensive these tolls are up there. They're huge tolls if you have to pay them every day.
And there are transponder fees if you don't use the hot lanes for a period of 6 months, I think. I've heard people complain about that. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, the transponder fees, plus as Senator Surovell has shared with you, it's just the cost of using the lanes, period, is so detrimental to our commuters. And like Senator Surovell, we've been working with Transurban, challenging them on the fee structure. They seem to think that the commuters are pleased with it, but I've been out there, and I will tell you, when I'm coming from Washington, D.C., going down to Woodbridge, and I see the price of how much it costs, I stay in the general lanes. I just can't afford to do it myself. And if I can't afford to do it, the average commuter, I'm certain, feels the same way that I feel. So our challenge is to say to Transurban, make this more affordable so that commuters can use the Easy Pass and use the lanes, because right now, it stagnates traffic in the general population lane, and I just don't think that it's working for us. And we are working pretty hard. I think Senator Surovell and I team up with and work with Transurban to see if we can find a better solution.
I think there was a similar circumstance in the Hampton Roads area. As a matter of fact, I believe there's a subsidy that flows there now in order to mitigate the high toll fees there.
Well, what happened in Hampton Roads was Governor McDonald worked out a deal where people were paying a higher toll before the tunnel ever opened.
That's right.
And people were unhappy. They were paying more before the improvement ever came. And they also were very upset when they found out what the ultimate toll was. And so I think the state agreed to pay some money to get that toll down. We're also doing that on the Dulles Toll Road. We're paying $300 million to bring the tolls down on the Dulles Toll Road to help subsidize the Silver Line construction. But I don't think anybody's talked about renegotiating the I-95, 395 deal. There is an opportunity right now, though, because the governor's just announced they're going to be working to extend the hot lanes. Arlington County blocked them originally, but they want to extend them from Edsel Road up to D.C., and they want to incorporate some transit into the whole thing. And I think there's an opportunity to have some discussions about the tolling structures in connection with that, because there's more we can do. For example, in Maryland, they charge you a monthly fee on your transponder, but they waive it if you use it 3 times a month and you're an in-state resident. And so, I mean, there's things like that we can do to get out-of-staters paying a little more so that we recognize what Virginians paid to build these things to begin with. I mean, this isn't like a brand new road. They're putting it on top of 2 lanes that were there already. All they did was add a lane.
Yeah.
Now, there has been increased revenue as a result of the 2013 transportation bill. Are there priorities set now as a result of that? And, in your opinion, is Northern Virginia getting its fair share?
I tend to think that we're getting the appropriate attention for our transportation needs as a result of passing the transportation bill. It continues to be the #1 priority. I know from the delegation from Northern Virginia, transportation continues to be the #1 priority. Whether you're traveling Route 66 or whether you're traveling 495 or whether you're coming down the 95 through 95 corridor, Route 1 as well. When traffic backs up on 95, everyone jumps off onto Route 1, and that creates a significant problem, particularly for those of us who are in Prince William County.
And, of course, there is an issue now around tolling of I-66.
Right. Yeah, I have very few constituents in the 36th District, Delegate Torian probably as well, that use I-66. But it's actually an important issue for us because initially there was some discussion about the state constructing it or the private party constructing. And I think the governor's now leaning towards the private party constructing it like Transurban. And a lot of people say, well, why we do that with all these high tolls and whatever. But the important thing to remember is that when you do a public-private partnership to construct these lanes, if the project runs over budget, the risk is on the private party and not the taxpayers. So on the 66 deal, which is going to happen, if it were to run $250 million over budget, that would mean $250 million. That would mean $250 million less dollars to do projects down our way, which are desperately needed. So if we can limit that risk, that leaves more money for everybody else to get later. And to me, you know, I'm sure to Delegate Torian, we have desperate needs down our way, and we need to get things started sooner rather than later. And so the more money we can have available, the sooner the better. And so 66 is working itself out. I'm not sure if they're going to resolve it this session because the governor's working out this public-private deal with, I think, well, he's got 3 different bidders he's negotiating with. It's probably going to take about 6 to 8 months before they have something final to announce, but that's definitely in the works.
The word desperate is something you've worked on for a long time, too, at least in terms of those low-income constituents who wind up being victims of predatory lending. And I know you've worked on that for years. You've got a bill in now. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I've actually have 4 bills in. But as I said, you know, the Route 1 corridor has similarities all the way from Fairfax down through Woodbridge into Dumfries and Triangle and Stafford. And my delegate seat had 7 car title lenders that opened up after 2011. In the Senate seat, there's 21. There's a ton of them in Woodbridge. Town Dumfries doesn't have any yet, but between Dumfries and Woodbridge, there's a ton. And these guys make loans to people at 264% interest rates.
264%.
Yeah, 264% is the state allows them to charge 264%. And we made a deal with them. We said, if you're going to charge these rates, you have to live by these 21 rules to protect consumers. Like you can't sue them, you can only take their car. The loan can only be for 12 months. You have to abide by what's called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which is a federal statute, which otherwise wouldn't apply. And what these car title lenders did was they set up a separate company that's not a car title lender and made the same kind of loans at the same rates, but without all the consumer protections through the other company and put it in the same store so consumers don't know which they're getting when they walk in. They push them on the unregulated products to the regulated products. So I put in a bill to basically say car title lenders can't use if they're going to use a separate company like that without all the protections, they can only lend at 36% interest, which is what sounds like a lot to people, but they can't make money at 36%. That was one of my bills. I have another bill that says they can't have the 2 outfits in the same business front. They can't do the bait and switch. And I have another bill that says they can't use something called the open-end credit loophole to lend money to people. And those bills are up next week, actually, and I think they might get some traction. It really got the industry's attention because people are very upset that they've now evading the law that we passed back in 2011 to restrict them.
I take it this is a problem that your constituents face as well.
Yes, it's a problem that we face, but we believe that the legislation that Senator Surovell has in will be supported as well.
Talk to us a little bit more about the new Virginia economy. As I recall some of the governor's suggestions, he points out how there's a real need for diversifying that economy by exporting more goods abroad, overseas to various markets. And I know he's been on a whirlwind in terms of traveling to a lot of foreign countries to promote businesses out of Virginia.
Well, the first couple of years of his administration, Governor McAuliffe has traveled internationally, and what he is focusing on is exporting Virginia goods. And if you listen to the State of the Commonwealth address on this past Wednesday evening, last week, he indicated to us how much export is occurring internationally, and that the goods, Virginia goods, are being exported throughout the globe. And so we're very pleased with that.
And obviously the Port of Virginia is something that is critical to the economy of the entire state, and a lot of the export-import activity occurs there.
I heard somebody say yesterday we had our Northern Virginia delegation meeting that the two biggest drivers of jobs, I guess outside the federal government, in Virginia is Dulles Airport and the Port of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I know, Delegate Torian being on the Appropriations Committee, he gets to play in the budget sandbox. I don't get to play in as much, but the port's come and asked us for, is it $250 million or is it $350?
We have seen significant increase in the use of our ports, and the dollars are really coming in now. Revenue's coming in via our ports.
Yeah, they're operating at capacity now. And in order to expand their capacity to keep up with New York, Charleston, Port of Miami, I think it is, they need about $250 million, or it's either $250 or $350 million. I can't remember which of investment.
It's $250
$250, yeah, to basically enhance capacity. They need to deepen the channels to deal with the big new ships that are going to be coming through the widened Panama Canal, and they have these automated cranes that can move these boxes around really fast and a lot faster, enhance capacity. And for us to be able to compete and continue to get cheap goods like the things you buy at Walmart or Costco or just about any big box store, to keep those prices down and affordable, we got to keep that port competitive with these other ports on the East Coast, so that we're not paying for more shipping costs for people to get goods here for our constituents to buy. But the port is a huge driver of the economy.
Changing subjects just for a moment, freedom of information. I know you've been involved in number of issues over the years about that, and you have another bill in this year.
Yeah, there was I had a case in the Supreme Court about 6 months ago, and the Supreme Court issued a ruling which gave a lot of people concern. Basically, the Supreme Court said that if there's one sentence in a document, a government document, which is exempt from disclosure, then the government can withhold the entire document from the public.
That means without even redacting that one sentence.
Right. And secondly, they said that when a court reviews a government official's decision about whether or not that sentence should be exempt or not, that the court has to give that government official great deference, their opinion, great deference about whether it's exempt or not. Basically trust the government, which is exactly the opposite of what FOIA is all about. And so I put in a bill with Delegate Lemunyon, Republican from who Luke and I were elected with back in 2009. He's from Western Fairfax. He's also the chairman of the FOIA Commission. We put in a bill to basically reverse that case, to say that when one of these decisions is reviewed by a court, you don't have to trust the government. The court gets to decide who's right, who's wrong. There's no special rules. And secondly, if there is a sentence in a document or a piece of information in a document that's exempt, you redact the document and you produce the rest. I heard one Supreme Court justice call it the poison pill theory. He's like, well, if we had this, if you didn't have to produce a redacted document, couldn't you just sprinkle poison pills all over the place and not produce anything? And the Attorney General's office said, yeah, that's kind of what it would be, and that shouldn't be the law in Virginia.
So more openness in government, I assume that's something that you're in favor of as well.
Oh, absolutely. Transparency in government has never been a problem for me. I believe in it.
Turning our attention to K through 12, our institutions of higher learning and community colleges, I believe the governor's budget calls for increase in all three of those categories, and there's also salary increase for all state employees, including teachers at the K through 12 level. Is that necessary?
Yes, it is necessary. Our public education system needs all the help that we can get, and with the governor putting in salary increases, with attention being given to K through 12 and our community colleges, we have seen enrollment in our community colleges increase with the partnership that our community colleges have with our four-year institutions, where individuals can receive their associate degrees, and then depending on the institution of their choice, whether it's UVA, Virginia Tech, or George Mason, they can go and complete their four-year degree. So the governor has done two things. He's focused on three things, actually: economic development, improve our transportation system, and K through 12, focusing on our public education and making sure that that's vital, and letting our state employees know that we value them, therefore the salary increases.
Now, what about the ratio of teachers to students in your district? Is it pretty high, or what?
The articles I've read say that Prince William County has the highest student-teacher ratios in the entire D.C. metro area. Prince William County has undergone a huge amount of population growth, and their construction hadn't kept up with it, and their investment in their education system hadn't kept up with it for a lot of different reasons, but mainly Prince William County doesn't have as much commercial real estate to tax as Fairfax does, and so they have to rely on homeowners to pay for it a lot more, and the state to pay for it a lot more, and they're kind of at they're kind of out there on that. I mean, the property tax rate in Prince William County is 15% higher than Fairfax County, but Prince William County also gets a lot more money from the state for K through 12. And this investment that the governor's talking about making in K through 12 is going to benefit Prince William County tremendously if it comes true. And one of the things, I know there's at least one new elementary school they're building in my district. There's a new 4,000 unit, 4,000 home development going in Prince William County along Route 1, Potomac Shores. Part of that, they're going to build 2 new schools there. Mm-hmm. And all this new money will help, I think, to start to get the student-teacher ratios back under control, and they're the most out of control in Prince William and in the area we represent. Yeah. Not up in western Prince William. They're down in the eastern part of Prince William. That's where it's the worst, and we have to get them down. All the studies show that one of the best things you can do to improve student performance is get them more time with their teachers by getting those class sizes down.
Now, what about complaints that were heard over the last couple of 3 years about the need to reform standards of learning, how those tests are administered, the number of those? I know there have been changes. Have the complaints diminished from parents, teachers, and students?
They haven't diminished, but we've done some good reforms. Last year we got rid of SOLs for, I think it was third graders, right?
Yeah, we did.
I'm not sure. Putting third graders through the ringer like that, but one bill that I'm carrying this year at the request of the Prince William County school system would allow the school system to give an alternative SOL test to 11th graders who are not English proficient. So these are children who have come to the country recently and their English skills are not great. We give them an alternative test which takes into account their language, the language differential, so that the school system doesn't get punished because a bunch of new kids just moved into it. Because the way people choose where to live is based on their test scores, their schools, and they look at the school as a whole. But when